Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are looking at something so small you'd probably never even see it.
Right.
A layer of paste, really, that gets applied to threads.
Mm-hmm.
But its performance or its failure can be the difference between a successful operation and a multi-million-dollar catastrophe.
Absolutely. We're talking about thread compounds.
We are, and it sounds so simple, like just some industrial grease.
But it's so much more than that. In oil and gas, in heavy manufacturing, really any critical infrastructure, that little bit of compound is your first line of defense.
It's the difference between smooth drilling and, a six-figure rig shutdown.
Easily. An emergency shutdown, yeah.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to understand how this stuff, this engineered substance, carries such incredibly high stakes. We're going to focus on the leader in the space, Bestolife.
And you have to start there. I mean, for over 80 years, Bestolife has been the undisputed frontrunner for premium compounds, especially in the petroleum industry.
80.
Yeah. And when a product has been protecting critical connections through every energy boom and bust for that long, it really says something about the engineering behind it.
Okay, so let's unpack that. This high-stakes environment. What is the compound actually protecting against?
Fundamentally, one main enemy.
Which is
Gas.
galling.
Galling, for anyone who doesn't know. What is that?
It's essentially a catastrophic form of adhesive wear. So you take two pieces of metal, say two high-strength steel pipes.
Okay.
You torque them together under immense pressure. The friction can actually cause the tiny peaks on the metal surfaces to weld themselves together.
So you're creating welds that you absolutely do not want.
Precisely. And when you try to break that joint apart or even just continue making it up, those welds tear. They rip the threads right off. The connection is destroyed.
And that means you risk seizing, where it just locks up completely.
Either seizing or worse. You get an insufficient seal and you have a catastrophic leak downhole. That jeopardizes the entire well.
So this compound is not just a lubricant, it's a physical barrier. It has to be. A barrier that stays perfectly intact while fighting off, four primary enemies at once.
And what are those?
You've got enormous load just from the sheer weight of all that pipe.
Right.
You have extreme pressure, especially if you're trying to seal in gas. You've got intense downhole heat.
How are we talking?
Oh, it can easily exceed 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then on top of all that, you have relentless corrosion from whatever chemicals and fluids are down there.
So it's an incredibly specific solution. And I'm guessing it's not a one-size-fits-all product.
Not at all. It's intensely specific. The formula that works for, say, basic API 8 round and buttress threads on casing is completely different from what you need for rotary shouldered connections.
Okay, explain that. What makes a rotary shouldered connection so much more challenging to protect?
So those connections are designed for the drill string itself. They have to handle immense rotational force, torque, and also compression. They rely on a shoulder face to carry a huge amount of that load. So the compound has to survive that final high-friction stage of makeup without galling, but then still allow for a clean breakout later.
It needs a much higher film strength.
Exactly.
Which means Bestolife needs a whole arsenal of different formulas. So let's talk innovation. Historically, these things relied on heavy metals, right?
They did. Lead, zinc, copper.
But this is where it gets really interesting to me. Bestolife is pushing a major shift toward non-metallic compounds.
Mm-hmm.
What drove that? What was the problem with the old formulas?
It was really two things. First, the obvious one, environmental impact. But second, and just as important, was the growing complexity of the technology itself.
What do you mean?
Well, those traditional metallic compounds, especially with lead and zinc, they're incredible at preventing seizing. But you run into something called metallic interference.
Metallic interference. What does that mean for the operator on the rig?
It means those tiny metal particles in the compound can sometimes mess with sensitive downhole measuring tools or electronic logging equipment.
Ah, okay. So the compound itself could interfere with the data you're trying to collect.
Right. And as you get into these really sophisticated premium self-sealing connections, you need a formula that guarantees the seal's integrity without any risk of conductive particles messing things up.
So it wasn't just about going green. It was a true technical upgrade.
It had to be.
So give us an example. What was the product that really defined that non-metallic breakthrough?
The landmark product is definitely Bestolife 3000, and we have to highlight this.
Yeah.
It was the first totally non-metallic compound engineered for those really high-stress, rotary shouldered
Does
connections.
it prove you could get that film strength without the metal?
Yes, and that was a huge engineering hurdle. It showed you could get the high temperature performance you need for tool joints without relying on traditional metal fillers.
And that sort of paved the way for what they have now.
It did. Today, you'd look at something like Bestolife 4040 NM.
Hmm.
It's the modern, versatile flagship non-metallic. It gives you that non-conductivity, but still has fantastic galling protection.
And are there even more specialized non-metallics?
Oh, yeah. You have products like Bestolife PTC. It's known for being chemically inert, which is critical if you're drilling in really corrosive environments, like a deep, sour gas well.
That's a fascinating evolution. But let's connect that directly to sustainability, to the eco-friendly side. How does a company known for heavy metal compounds for 80 years create something compliant without, sacrificing performance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And their answer is a product called Bestolife COP99.
Called Pri 99.
And the genius of it is that it hits the performance marks of a premium compound, so superior protection against galling and seizing, but it's completely free of lead and zinc.
Hold on. If lead and zinc are the traditional workhorses for anti-seize,
Mm-hmm.
what's doing the heavy lifting in Cup Pri 99?
They use this advanced blend of non-heavy metal solid lubricants. It's combined with specific polymers and carriers that maintain that protective film even under massive torque.
So the operator gets to meet their sustainability goals without taking a performance hit on the rig floor.
That's the goal, no compromise.
Okay, that's the path to the future. But let's pivot back to the present, to heavy industry reality. We have to talk about the other end of the spectrum.
Feels guard.
Maximum, uncompromising brute strength. For those jobs where failure is just not an option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes raw, proven power is what you need. And that brings us to the famous Bestolife 2 under 70 week. This stuff has been protecting drilling jobs for decades.
And its strength comes from its, let's say, controversial composition.
It does. It's made of over 60% pure metallic lead.
60%.
60% plus some other non-metallic additives.
From a pure engineering standpoint, what makes that much lead so effective? Why is 270 such a powerhouse?
Lead is a unique solid lubricant. It's highly deformable, so under that extreme pressure and torque, the lead particles basically sacrifice themselves.
How so?
They flatten out and create this continuous protective plating layer between the metal surfaces. It physically fills in any microscopic gaps and prevents that metal-to-metal contact better than almost anything else. It is the ultimate defense.
But if you're an operator and you choose a formula like that, what are the trade-offs? You must have challenges with handling, disposal.
Oh, the challenges are significant. Your handling and disposal protocols have to be incredibly strict because of the lead. You need specialized safety data sheets, regulatory tracking.
So you get unmatched protection, but you inherit a whole lot more compliance work.
That's the trade-off, exactly.
And speaking of extreme environments, what about high-pressure, high-temperature gas wells, where a leak is the absolute worst-case scenario?
For those critical jobs, operators turn to a specialist compound, Bestolife 72733. This stuff is engineered specifically to create tight, leak-free connections by exceeding API RP5A3 standards.
Okay, so what does exceeding that API standard actually let an operator do in the field?
API 5A3 is the industry benchmark for testing these compounds. Exceeding it means the compound holds its seal and its anti-seize properties at much higher temperatures and pressures than the standard requires.
So you can drill deeper.
Deeper, hotter, and you can seal high-pressure gas with more confidence. You're mitigating that enormous risk of a gas leak downhole.
That is specialized protection. And what about for just, the everyday reliable drilling jobs?
For general day-to-day stuff, you've got the workhorse Bestolife ZN60. It's a classic zinc-based compound, the go-to for tool joints, drill collars, things like that. And then there's Bestolife API Modified, which is all about protecting standard connections right at that critical makeup and breakout phase to prevent that initial galling.
So we have this incredible custom-engineered family of products. Everything from eco-friendly copper 99 to the 60% lead brute force of number 270.
Right.
But a world-class product only solves the chemistry problem. What about the logistics? Getting the right stuff to the right rig at the right time. Why is the distributor, someone like PEEnergy.com, just as crucial as the formula itself?
For the people buying this, procurement managers, operations bosses, this part of the story is all about risk mitigation.
How so?
Because in heavy industry, sourcing a quality product means absolutely nothing if you can't prove you sourced it compliantly, reliably, and authentically.
And what's the risk if you don't? if you source it non-compliantly?
The risk is enormous. If you're running a compound that isn't genuine or, it lacks the proper paperwork, that's an immediate red flag in any safety inspection or audit.
And if something goes wrong?
If there's a well failure, the first thing they'll look at is the compound. PE Energy closes that gap. They provide full documentation, real batch traceability, and up-to-date safety data sheets on tap.
So it's about providing an ironclad chain of custody.
Exactly. It lets customers just ace those inspections. And it guarantees the product is genuine Bestolife, direct from the authorized channel. No gray market, no counterfeits.
Okay, so let's run a scenario. A job running offshore suddenly realizes they're low on a specialty compound, like that high-pressure 72733. What happens?
That's where the whole Houston local world connected thing comes in. If a rig is down, every hour costs a fortune. A distributor like PE Energy has the warehouse and the logistics expertise, staffed by people who actually come from the oil field, to get a rapid response shipment out the door. That local presence and global reach means they can handle emergencies far faster than a generic supplier.
And what about for the big industrial buyers, the ones running continuous high-volume operations?
Well, they're built for B2B buyers. That means they have bulk purchasing power, so they can offer wholesale rates and volume savings. They understand that reliability isn't just the product, it's a consistent, cost-effective supply that keeps jobs moving.
You know, this deep dive has really shown something fundamental. In these huge operations where everything is on the line, the difference between dominance and, frankly, debilitating failure comes down to the engineering of a microscopic chemical barrier.
It really does. It's the paradox of modern industry, isn't it? We focus on the massive machinery, the huge iron.
But the critical failure point is always at the connection.
Always. And we've seen how these chemical components are just custom engineered to perform under these absolutely punishing conditions, sealing joints at hundreds of degrees.
And when you think about that vast range of products we've discussed, metallic, non-metallic, eco-friendly,
Right.
all designed to prevent one tiny but incredibly costly problem like galling, it leaves you with a thought. This whole industry is driven by specialized, often unseen technology. It makes you wonder, how much of this incredibly specialized engineering built to protect tiny components from failure is underpinning every single mile of the energy grid or every utility operation you rely on right now, just humming along without incident?
It's a testament to the unseen science.
Yeah.
Absolutely.